Welcome back. Now, he's worked in politics. Remember the foul-mouthed bully, Malcolm Tucker, whose favourite pastime was to make everyone's life a misery in the thick of it.
And he's worked in the health service, directing Joe Brand in the wonderful sitcom Getting On. Now the actor and director Peter Capaldi is turning his attention to the history of British cinema.
But Cricklewood grates on BBC4 this Sunday. Things aren't quite what they seem. We'll speak to Peter in a moment, who can explain a little more. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi there.
Lovely to see you here. Let's have a look at the programme itself.
Of course, we all remember the stars of Cricklewood with great affection. But as I grew up, I began to notice other performers who maybe hadn't exactly made it, but still did something for me. And as the 60s started swinging, someone appeared who would haunt my teenage years. Why exactly, I don't know.
Her name was Jenny Driscoll, and she had something about her. She wasn't a star, and she never would be, but I was always delighted to see her.
Have you had it off recently?
Just before I come in.
Goodness me, nurse!
Yes, Dr. Whittle.
And I would seek her out from her debut in Thumbs Up Matron
No, Anne have had a look at his particulars.
until the end.
Mr. Bigham was just saying he hasn't been feeling himself recently.
Yeah, you said that was our little secret.
I think you need a painkiller. Nurse, can you give him one?
Oh, yes, I'll give him one right away.
And Peter joins us now. Very good morning to you.
Good morning.
I was watching the beginning of this and thinking, do I remember these films?
Yes.
I'm sure I recognise some of these characters.
Well, that's a series called, that's the Thumbs Up movies. It's hard to believe that there was a series of comedy films in Britain that were worse than the Carry On films, but they were the Thumbs Up. And so that was a clip from Thumbs Up Matron.
Yeah.
And they then went on to make Thumbs Up Marie Antoinette and Thumbs Up Her Majesty's Pleasure. And obviously as the 70s wore on, they got worse and coarser, and ended up with this sci-fi inspired Thumbs Up Uranus, which we show a bit of, but you won't show.
No,
no, I don't think so. That would be entirely inappropriate.
It's just a sci-fi.
Slightly frustrating in a way for you as the guy who made this film, because it's a spoof.
Yeah.
I was going to say, at what point in this discussion do we say that?
Yeah, the purest version of the spoof, of course, is when people don't even know. They don't even know that they're watching a spoof, and already there's a hint of that in this, is there?
Yes, unfortunately a situation developed which was that the film basically is a documentary about forgotten stars of the British cinema.
Yeah.
And because they're forgotten, obviously one speaks to journalists and they can't remember them, but most journalists can't remember anything really except what they've just looked up on Google. So a number of journalists ran, I didn't tell them that it was a spoof. And I spoke about Florrie Fontaine, who was this huge star in the 30s and became, during the war, a forces sweetheart. Unfortunately, the German forces sweetheart, which sort of finished her career. But they thought she was real and went off to look up the internet and ran with a story about this real person.
Well, OK, so in a way, you're saying journalists are silly to do that. But on the other hand, that's a mark of success for you if you've managed to produce a documentary that is so convincing.
Yeah. Well, we were very lucky because we had a lot of very skilled and we had very little money, but we had a lot of talented people. And so they brought a great deal of their gifts and effort and work to it. And we made it sort of with a great deal of love. So I think that convinced people that it was real.
Is the beauty of the spoof, am I right? Because if you choose a subject of which people are very fond, then they're more likely to kind of be spoofed. Because they sort of people want to believe it, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And also with something like this, when you are talking about people who sort of fell through the cracks, people sort of think they remember who they are and think they existed somewhere. And of course, they are sort of vaguely based on amalgams of real people.
That's interesting, actually, because your famous character, Malcolm Tucker, was a spin doctor and therefore a master of propaganda. And actually, what you've got an insight into here as well is how you can pull the wool over people's eyes.
Yeah, and also it was strange as well because I'm in it sort of as me, but it's not really me. It's a sort of Simon Shamma-esque kind of Brian Coxish version of me, being a sort of rather pompous presenter who's very into himself and appears from behind pillars and doorways looking a bit lost.
Curious business. Television, so curious. We've got a report going out this morning about animals that can paint. Like an elephant, for example. And you watch, sometimes, I watched it for the first time this morning thinking, Hold on.
How can
Is someone taking us for a ride here, as in the elephant?
Do they dip their paws?
Well, you could only see, the thing was, you could only see the end of its trunk. So
holding a paintbrush.
And you think, have we been completely taken in? But apparently it's all for real. Sometimes things get blurred, don't they?
It's a bit suspicious, I think.
One of the reasons that you've made this look so convincing is because the clips that you use, you have... Well, let's have a look. Is your silent film parody with The Little Drunk?
The Little Drunk, yes.
Harold the Hobo was what Arthur called him. But audiences came to know him by another, more affectionate name. The Little Drunk. Arthur's heavyweight sparring partner here is Carlisle's own Chuckles Mulroy.
I mean, the way that actors performed, the effects that were put on, the sound of it.
Great. I have to say, all the actors were sensational because they really only had we only had enough money to make little clips, and I would tell the stories of the characters, and maybe we'd also show someone's wedding photograph or something like that, or a little bit of Super 8 film of them on their holidays, because I'm a great fan of the Channel 4, of the BBC 4 documentary, of the Nat King Cole story, or what, they have, you can turn on and you see a documentary about Albert Einstein, followed by a documentary about James Last and his orchestra or whatever. And so the actors really only had like 2 or 3 pages of dialogue to work with, and they sort of conjured these characters up out of nowhere thanks to their commitment and their passion to it. So we were very, very lucky with that.
Can we talk about the thick of it? We're coming back?
Yes,
working on it now?
Yeah, we're going to start. They're going to start. I'm in The Lady Killers at the moment, which is at the Gielgud Theatre. That's just a plug. But they're going to start this in April. But I don't finish until mid-April, so I'm joining them in mid-April.
When actors are reminded of the character with which they're most closely associated, they sometimes want to, issue a kind of rude riposte. And you are entitled to do that, because that's exactly what Malcolm Tucker would do.
No, but I love Malcolm. I think he's great. I don't think there's... everybody always wants me to swear at them and be nasty and all of that stuff. And I don't think he's a nasty person at all. I think he's a very centred and straight and pleasant person. He's just got a tough job to do.
It's just a different way of showing it, that's all. Thank you very much for coming this morning.
You're very welcome.
Fantastic to see you.
And you too.
Cricklewood Greats is on BBC 4 this Sunday at 9 o'clock. And you can see Peter in The Lady Killers because it's on the Gielgud Theatre in London.
That's it for today. Both back tomorrow from 6. We will see you then.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.